Yeah, so I've been working in. I thought I'd just give a quick intro actually of myself, so you kind of know what I've been doing and some of the brands that I've worked with over the last 20 years of my life. But I guess just so you get a bit of a kind of idea of um, what I've been doing. I came out of university and couldn't get a job, so ended up setting up a web design company. And that was when the dot-com bubble burst, and in like 90, no, it wasn't 90, it's like 2001, 2002. So set up my own web design company and did that for like, I don't know, 5 years. And then I went to work in for brands, and frankly, it was to pay the wage, and it wasn't the most exciting work trying to sell office supplies, but I did that for a while. And then I finally got a job working in agencies, and I've probably spent most of my life working in agencies. So like there's pros and cons of like working in agencies versus working for brands. But working for agencies was great because it kind of gives you get a lot of creativity and you get a lot of variety, but you never necessarily kind of see the end result. Whereas if you go and work for a brand, yes, there's less variety, as in you're always saying the same thing about the same brand. But you do kind of get to see projects through from end to finish and really see your results. So that's probably like the pros and cons. And then yeah, so I've worked on like back when I was running my web design company. I worked on a project with 8 Mile when they released their DVD in the UK. I've worked with Battle Scars, which is a MC battle, lyricist battle competition that went all around the UK. I've done things like sell accountancy software. I've worked with Adobe, so if you know like Photoshop and Premiere and all those kind of products that they have, I've helped Adobe sell those products. And then probably more recently kind of worked with FIBA, which is like FIFA, but for basketball. So that we had the World Cup in 2019, and that was pretty cool, like working with all the basketball teams. Was lucky enough to meet like Stephon Marbury and Kobe Bryant and a few others, and being a massive basketball fan, that was pretty cool for me. Worked on the NFL, and now at the moment I'm a chief marketing officer at Super League Triathlon. So that's a global triathlon race with all the world's best athletes. So I've done quite a lot of variety, I guess, but it's been good because kind of variety keeps you. It kind of allows you to see lots of different things from lots of different perspectives, and then take the best of everything and kind of put it together. And I guess that's kind of what I spent my time doing. I'd say in terms of sort of even sitting here today, talking to you guys, if Twitter hadn't have turned up, I probably wouldn't have learned anything, and would probably still be trying to run a kind of web design agency. So Twitter really helped me learn about marketing and kind of helped me elevate my own professional game, I guess. So I would definitely sort of like recommend hitting Twitter, finding people that if you're interested in digital marketing, hit Twitter, find people worth following on Twitter, and learn and read as much as you possibly can, because that's definitely the route I took. So I thought I'd give a brief. In fact, I'm just going to ask the question, and maybe I can get some answers. We'll see. So, if I asked you what is digital marketing, what would you guys say? But basically, I've kind of tried to break digital marketing down into sort of 7 key areas. So they're content, and that can be images, videos, text, audio, animated GIFs, everything like that. Thanks, Gibbs. I think this is building your brand on social media platform and sell on it. It's close. I mean, it's not just social media, right? So digital marketing, social media is definitely one aspect of it. You've got advertising, so that's paid advertising. Now you can do paid advertising on websites, on mobile devices, on search engines, on social media. So there's lots of different places you can do advertising. The next one's search marketing. So this is really about like, how do you get found online? There's a a term that where they call it zero moment of truth. Or Google kind of coined that phrase, and it basically means that moment when you type something in that search box, it's your first intention to your first truth that you actually want to go and find something out, you want to buy something, and it just shows that intent. And so that's kind of search marketing, but there's also the paid part of search marketing as well, which we'll kind of cover off in the advertising section. There's web and mobile, and obviously so I'll take you through kind of like, how do you build websites? How do you build mobile devices? Who are the kind of people that you need to do that kind of stuff? Email and text messaging, or SMS, or even like WhatsApp and that kind of stuff. I've kind of built a little piece around that to show you how to think about email. Social media, obviously, probably the biggest, most obvious one for us all is social media these days. But also then there's all the kind of data and the analytics, and really, as a marketer, I would say there's two things you need to be good at. One, you need to be creative, and two, you need to understand the data. Because the data can help you become more creative. So data really underpins a lot of digital marketing and what you should be trying to do and achieve. And I'll kind of talk you through some of that as we go. But just to maybe kind of explain a few things and how these areas kind of fit into what's called like a customer journey. So effectively, if one of you guys wants to buy the latest pair of Jordans, for instance, there may be a number of Jordans, like 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s. You can all tell me which is your favorite pair later. But effectively, you will kind of like have a thought that you need a new pair of trainers. Like maybe you got a hole in your old pair of trainers. So what you will do is you'll then go away and you'll kind of do what they call like active evaluation. So you're really like looking at and kind of comparing, is it these J's or is it those J's? Until the point where pretty much you buy it. And then at that point that you buy it, you then go into kind of like a post-purchase experience. So at that point, you're probably not trying to scuff your trainers. You might have got some like spray guards for them or whatever, and you're either wearing them and you're showing them off to your mates, and you're kind of like enjoying the experience of that product. And then that will kind of hopefully over time get you into a loyalty loop. Like I pretty much won't buy any other pair of trainers apart from Nikes and Jordans. That's me. I'm totally suckered into that brand. And because I enjoy that product, and because the brand has engaged with me in a way that appeals to me, I become loyal to that brand. And then I kind of skip that whole kind of like evaluation, because I just keep buying the same brand. Like I love it so much, I'm not really going to look elsewhere. So that's kind of like the journey that we all go on. And it's not necessarily like a lot of people talk about a marketing funnel, like effectively you're unaware of something, you're then aware of it, you then engage with it, you then buy it, and then you become an advocate for it. It doesn't really necessarily work like that. It's more a bit of a kind of more of a loop in the way that we do things. And then, so how does, I guess, digital marketing fit into all of that? Well, as you can see, and as you'll learn with digital marketing, if it's something that you want to kind of go into in your careers, or even want to use it for your own like hustles and that kind of stuff, it's pretty complicated, and there's quite a lot to it. There are obviously a lot of things, and I'll actually, at the end of each section, I'll kind of take you through like, here's a couple of tools you could go and use that are quite useful, that might help you sort of simplify some of the processes. But basically, the way this particular diagram, so you're looking kind of from left to right. So the first task is reaching that audience. Then it's kind of acting and behaving with that audience to kind of encourage them to buy something. And then it's converting them, effectively getting them to buy something. And then it's that engagement, creating that kind of loyal customer. And you'll see down the bottom with these kind of blue arrows, a very similar kind of idea in terms of this kind of loop. So you'll also see here, you've got a few different colors. So you've got the dark blue being paid advertising, the dark green, which is owned media. What that means is like the platforms that you own. So your email database, your website. Earned media will be things like social media, influencer outreach, that kind of stuff. And then experience is really the way that they're talking about experience is like the things that you're going to do with that brand that drive you on to basically buy something. So yeah, you can kind of see here that like it all starts off in TV, radio, print, events, display advertising, search advertising, which is PPC, that means pay per click, or SEO, which means search engine optimization, and content marketing. So that's you trying to get out using those kind of channels and tactics to try and get to your audience, basically. Then you move into kind of influencer outreach. So I'm sure you guys all know about that. If you're on Instagram, there are thousands of influencers I'm sure you're following at the moment, whether they're musicians, like fashion, people in fashion, DJs, rappers, whatever. So all of that stuff is to try really and get them onto like your homepage of your website, like your landing page, or onto a product page. And those are the places where you're trying to drive people to get them to do something on your website. You'll also notice at this point there's this thing called remarketing, and I'll explain that a little bit more in paid media, and also this CRO, which is conversion rate optimization, and that basically means how can you optimize the way somebody lands on your website and goes through to buy a product. Then you've got things like merchandising and marketing automation. And marketing automation is effectively methods to like automate the marketing process. So in other words, if somebody lands on your website and they subscribe to your newsletter, like setting up an email that automatically says to them, hey, thanks for subscribing to the newsletter, why don't you go and check out this product? That's a very, very simplistic form of like marketing automation. Then you've got personalization. So this is really like if somebody hits your website and you have some data on them, how can you send them a message that is more personal to them because it's more relevant to them? So I'll go through some personalization examples a bit further on, but it may be, let's say that you hit the I don't know, I'm going to use the NBA because I'm a massive basketball fan. So let's say you hit the NBA website, and the NBA website, they already know that I've bought a Bulls Jordan 23 jersey. So they're going to start creating messages on that website that are more focused around Chicago Bulls than any other team. Then you've got remarketing. Again, I'll come on to that a little bit later. Multi-channel selling, which is really about just how can you demonstrate in all the channels that you work on what the product is and how to use it. Conversion rate optimization is again another part of the conversion process. User-generated content as well. It's so in this instance, it's like if you can show people that want to buy your product other people using your product, you've got a higher chance of selling it, because basically as human beings we all like to make as many shortcuts as we possibly can with our decisions, and seeing other people in clothing and I'm using clothing as an example, in clothing or using a product, you automatically go, okay, well if he's using it and I kind of like that guy or girl, it must be good for me too. And then you have the kind of engaged bits. This is the kind of customer onboarding. So this is really like, oh, you've bought the product. How do you feel about the product? When I worked with Toyota, we kind of created a whole process of once they bought a car, what is a 2-year communication plan with them after buying that car? What does it look like, so that we can get them, actually the whole point of it was to kind of make them loyal customers and get them to come back and buy another car again. Personalized loyalty programs. So I don't know, if you know a person's bought a pair of socks on your website, can you give them 10% discount for their next pair of socks rather than maybe a t-shirt that they haven't bought? Then the remarketing, which I said I'll come on to again, and then the kind of re-engage email program, which can also be not just email, but could also be things like SMS, text messages, WhatsApp messages, and all that kind of stuff. So that hopefully, I know I've rattled through that pretty quickly, but that is effectively the way that you will have to plug in these 7 things that we spoke about, all get plugged into the customer's journey, from not even knowing that you exist as a brand all the way through to shouting and screaming how cool you are as a brand.